Welcome back, Berserkers. In this video, we've got a viewer request. One of our fellow Berserkers asked, what can be controlled on the car without actually having to touch the touchscreen? So let's get into it. There's a lot of things you can control without ever taking your eyes off the road. Mount up, Berserkers. We're going to battle. All right, guys, some of the really basic commands that you can take care of without ever having to touch the touchscreen come from two different sources. On the steering wheel, you've got the scroll wheel on the left, the scroll wheel on the right. The scroll wheels, not only do they scroll up and scroll down, but they also click to the left and click to the right. So by virtue that you've got two scroll wheels with four different directions they can do, they also can be pushed in as well. So you can use those controls, and if you push in the right scroll wheel, it activates the voice command system. And the voice command system also allows you to take care of a lot of things just through voice commands. For example, if you're driving down the highway and you want the climate control to be adjusted, there's a couple of different things in play. You can use the voice command, make it warmer, and it increases the temperature by 3 degrees. And you can also say, make it cooler, and it decreases the temperature by 3 degrees. In a lot of ways, though, that climate control might be unneeded because the climate control actually has an auto function. For a long time while I've had the car, I used the manual function. I preferred it that way. But what I've done is that I just set it at a temperature that's comfortable for me and most of my passengers, and I put it on auto, set it and forget it. If it's warmer, it cools it down. If it's cooler, it warms it up. And so without ever having to touch the climate control, you're always comfortable in the car. You can also use voice commands if it's a particularly cold day and you want the steering wheel warmer on. You use the voice command. Steering wheel heater on. And the steering wheel heater is on. Actually, I think it was already on. Let me do that again. So I'll turn the seat heater on. Well, let's try that again. All right, so right now the steering wheel heater is off, the seat heaters are off, and we'll use the voice command to activate them. Steering wheel heater on. And you look, the steering wheel heater is now on. You can also use voice command to turn on the seat heater. Seat heater on. And it turns the seat heater on to high. But what if you don't want it on high? Seat heater set to 2. And they're set to medium. Seat heaters off. And it turns them off. So that handles climate, steering wheel heater, and the seat heaters. So the next thing that we can talk about is to drive the car, you put your foot on the brake, you put it in gear, now it's in drive. On the left-hand side here, there's a button that you can push in to mist the windshield with the windshield wipers. If you want to actually use windshield washer fluid, just push it a hard press while it clicks. When it clicks, it sprays the windshield as well. Now, when you hit that gray button that starts the windshield wiper or washer, you'll see on the screen, it pops up here where you can get 1, 2, 3, 4 auto. I leave the windshield wipers on auto. It works very well for me. That's my experience with them. A lot of people have talked about how they don't have a great experience with the auto windshield wipers. So what you can do, wipers on 2. Wipers max. Wipers off. And you can do all of those things while the car's in drive, while the car's in motion, without ever taking your eyes off the road. Obviously, your turn signals are there. They're on the left-hand stalk. I should say all of these commands that I'm using, all these controls are for the Model 3 and the Model Y. The Model S and the Model X have slightly different things based on whether you have a pre-refresh or post-refresh, because the yoke has different controls, and the voice commands actually have a voice command button as opposed to the scroll wheel. But for Model 3 and Y, currently, everything that I'm teaching you will work. Now, if you put the adaptive cruise control on, you'll see that it sets a max speed that it will go to. It will adapt to traffic based upon how slow the cars in front of you are going. It will also adapt to turns that are in front of you and slow down the car for a turn. Here we have a hard 90-degree turn, and I am not slowing the car down. The car is slowing itself down. Slowed itself down to 22 miles an hour for that turn. Now, if you want to adjust the max speed that you're willing to let it go, you use the right-hand scroll wheel, and you can scroll it down to a maximum speed that the car will allow itself to go to. And so that's how you adjust without taking your eyes off the road, the adaptive cruise control. You use the right-hand scroll wheel. To take it out of adaptive cruise control, you push up on the right-hand stalk, or you can put tap your foot on the brake. It'll take it completely out of adaptive cruise control. So those are some of the commands that you can use. As far as your headlights, you can control them from the screen. You can put on the headlights, the fog lights, and you can put your brights into auto mode or in manual mode. If you want to just tap your high beams, you can pull back on the left-hand stalk and the high beams will just flash briefly, or you can push forward on it if you want to turn your high beams on. If you have your high beams in auto mode, then pushing the stalk forward will not turn your high beams on. It will default to the auto high beams. So when it comes to playing music in the car, you can do all those controls from the steering wheel scroll wheels as well. When you have premium connectivity, you can push in on the right-hand scroll wheel, and using the voice command, you can ask the car to play you pretty much any song, and it will begin to play, because premium connectivity comes with a premium account of Slacker radio. But beyond that, if you have your phone Bluetoothed into the car, and you want to listen to music, listen to a playlist, listen to an album from your phone, then you can also control it using the scroll wheels just as easily. To start the track playing, you'll push in on the left-hand scroll wheel, and it begins playing. To turn the volume up, you roll up on the left-hand scroll wheel. Volume down, you roll down on the left-hand scroll wheel. To change to the next track, you click right on the left-hand scroll wheel, and it'll change to the next track. If you want to reverse tracks, you click to the left, and it's when you click it once, it starts over the current track. When you click it twice, it reverses to the previous track, whether it's a playlist or an album or what have you. To pause it, you push in on the scroll wheel again, and it will pause it. If you're driving and you don't want to stop what you're doing, if you don't want to pull over to start navigating to a new place, you can actually hit the right-hand scroll wheel, push it in, and tell it to navigate to a new destination. Navigate to the nearest supercharger. It will calculate the nearest supercharger. You do have to tap on the screen to choose the supercharger, and then it begins navigating to it. Same thing for addresses. You can say navigate to, and you can tell it an address, and it will navigate to that address. So now we're on the highway. To activate the autopilot, you push down on the right-hand stalk twice. Pushing down on the right-hand stalk, now you're in autopilot. The blue lines will outline the lane that you're in, and actually I have a Rainbow Road set, so it's always on Rainbow Road when it's in autopilot for me. So now it's in autopilot. I'm keeping my eye on the road, as you must. The car will adapt to traffic in front of you as slow or as fast as it's going, but it will only go to the max speed that you set. Very much like adaptive cruise control, you can set the max speed higher or lower depending on what your threshold and comfort is. One caveat to that is that with basic autopilot, which is all I have, the car will only allow you to set the max speed for 5 miles an hour above the speed limit if you're on city streets. If you're on the highway, you can set it to go a bit higher than that, but on city streets, it's limited to 5 miles an hour above the speed limit. Now, when you go to change lanes, you use your turn signals on the left-hand side, just like most cars. You click it, and the turn signal comes on, but to turn the turn signal off if you don't need it, or after you've completed changing lanes, you push it in the same direction and it'll turn off. You can push it in the opposite direction, but for me it's easier to push it in the same direction because you never accidentally turn on the turn signal in the wrong direction that way. Another thing for the climate control, if you're in manual mode, you can push in the voice command button and you can actually increase or decrease the fan speed. When you're in auto mode, the car takes care of the fan speed based upon the temperature that you wanted the car to be. And so the fan speed won't come into play unless you're in manual mode for the climate control. All right, Berserkers, we've talked about climate control, we've talked about your audio, your radio, we've talked about navigation, we've talked about autopilot, we've talked about adaptive cruise control, we've talked about turn signals, we've talked about windshield wipers, seat heaters, steering wheel heaters. I think that's the primary ones that you'll want to know so that you never have to take your eyes off the road when you're actually driving. So I think we've covered a lot of those. Now, there's a lot more voice commands, but not necessarily ones that you would use while you're driving. Like you can say open the charge port to the voice command, but you're not going to do that while you're driving. So as far as being in control of the car and the creature comforts that are included in the car while you're driving, I think we've covered most things. If there's any questions, leave them in the comments section and I will make either another video or I'll make a short about it to make sure you guys have all the information that you want to know. But until the next time, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button if this has been helpful for you. And mount up, Berserkers. We'll see you guys in the next battle.